Entering the atmosphere in T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, back for another week of Metroid Prime 4 content with my pal and yours, Doominal Crossing. What's up, Doom? How the heck are you, buddy?
I think as we were talking about backstage, we both had some interesting weekends, to say the least. I will say, one of the highlights of my weekend, though, last week I was at the store and I saw these limited edition Lay's chips called grilled cheese and bacon. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that hardcore of a bacon guy. I do like it, but I don't go crazy for it like a lot of people do. But this one caught my eye, so I'm like, I'm gonna buy that. I'm gonna try that later because that just sounds interesting. I finally tried it today, and well, I kind of inhaled the whole bag because those are some god tier chips. So if you're at your local store and you see some grilled cheese and bacon Lays, cannot recommend it enough. Phenomenal flavor. I will be very sad when they inevitably leave shelves.
The amount of flavors that you Americans have is quite staggering to me as a Canadian. The amount of Oreo flavors that you guys have is outrageous. We have like 5.
We do go crazy on the Oreo flavor. There's a limited edition kind of collaboration between Reese's and Oreo right now where they have Oreos with like Reese's peanut butter cup flavored like filling, and then they have Reese's peanut butter cups with like Oreo stuff. Not gonna lie, I tried both of those. Not gonna lie, they're both pretty mid. The Reese's Oreos honestly taste exactly like a regular Reese's to me, and the Oreos just taste like a peanut butter Oreo. I couldn't really tell the difference between the Reese's version and the regular peanut butter Oreos. So like they're fine for what they are, but kind of underwhelming.
I wouldn't know. Those are two flavors that I would stay far away from. For me, that would result in my demise. So yeah, I'll take your word for it. Okay, well we are back here today to definitively rank the bosses of Metroid Prime 4. But before we get there, a little bit of good news that I wanted to share for everybody. Over the weekend, as we said last week, our pals over at MetroidHQ had their MetroidHQthon. I want to say it was the 15th annual marathon that they hosted this year. Ended on Sunday, and for anybody that didn't know, I actually got to run a game in this Metroid marathon. I kicked off day 4 or day 5 of the marathon with some NEStroid gameplay, which went like okay, considering I was telling Doom before we started recording, there was an instance at my household this weekend where a certain dog and a certain cat maybe got into a little bit of scrap and sent a certain podcaster's cup of coffee flying all over his Switch too. So my Joy-Cons are a little bit sticky. So considering it turned out pretty good. I do have to admit though, Doom, I died at Mother Brain because I was feeling the pressure and I was a little bit nervous. I typically don't, but I was just like, oh my god, I can't die here, so of course I did. But we stated it and we came back.
Yeah, it happens. The streamer's curse, it hits us all when the pressure gets bad. I mean, everyone who saw my Metroid Dread run knows that when I hit that first Robo Chozo Soldier, I was definitely feeling that streamer's pressure curse.
I had the run of my life a couple nights beforehand too. Like I beat the game start to finish in like an hour, which for me is like really impressive. Usually I'm about like an hour. I think I timed myself like a couple weeks ago. I was an hour 23, so I was just like, dang, that's pretty. It's a pretty good run for me.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and this one wasn't actually that far off, aside from the Mother Brain snafu. So I had to probably like 10 extra minutes, but we were about an hour 10, so it was okay. It was okay. Good to see some
definitely not bad
there too while I was streaming.
Definitely not bad at all for a casual run. And I would have loved to support there, but unfortunately I work Sunday, so I had to miss it. So I'll definitely have to check out the pre-recorded version. Has MHQ uploaded that to their YouTube channel yet? Or are they still working on that?
I would imagine that they're taking a couple days to recuperate. The marathon just ended yesterday, so I think they're going to just take a day off here. Really, really great though. Like marathon, it ended up at $2,600, supporting Child's Play Foundation, just helping kids in need. So lots of really great like donations and segments and stuff like that. I got to kind of see a little bit of how they do their marathon, so it was a really cool experience. And of course, Elias is kind of the main cog of Metroid HQ here, and was a pretty big part of our own Omega Metroid Marathon. So got to pick his brain for a lot of stuff as well. So yeah, it was a really cool experience, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that dropped in and hung out. It was good to see some familiar faces as I was streaming. Obviously to everybody that donated, and yeah, hopefully we'll do it again. I think I might just be like the NEStroid guy now going forward for them, because no one else wants to play it. But I love it.
Yeah, I was about to say, normally, like, I think most people would groan, but I feel like that's like right up your alley. You're like, sure, I'll take one for the team.
Yeah, I quite like NEStroid. Actually, so I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and I think I just told you she just finished her first playthrough of Metroid games, and so she was like, what other games are worth it? And she said, like, is NEStroid worth playing with Zero Mission? And I think for a long time my answer would have been like, no, you can skip the NES version and just play Zero Mission. Like it's a lot. There's the extra stuff. There's quality of life improvements. And it's the same game. For many, many years, I would have said that, but actually, I kind of do go back on that a little bit now. I do think that like playing the original Metroid is definitely worth it. There's just like a hostility about it, that other games don't have. Like, it doesn't tell you what to do, it doesn't tell you where to go, it doesn't tell you anything about power-ups. You just go and you make it your own, and you navigate this labyrinth. And I just think that it's got like a certain something, like the colors really pop, the music really pops. It's a really fun game, I think, and like if you can play with a map, or at least like you get a little bit more familiar with like where to go, I really do think that it's quite fun. So I enjoy playing that game a lot.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet, but I want to get there. And like the more I hear you talk about it, it's like, oh, I can kind of see where you're coming from. I feel like what's going to push me over the edge is Infidelity's SNES port of Metroid, which it's essentially Metroid 1 with just some slight quality of life improvements, but in a different way than like what Zero Mission is, where completely redoes the entire game. It's like Metroid 1, but like there's like no frame drops. There's a map. You can choose between the NES or the Famicom soundtrack, which is really cool. And cool. Yeah, I feel like. Yeah, and so I feel like, yeah, I want to do a playthrough of like that Infidelity SNES port eventually, and I feel like that's what's really gonna push me over the edge. But yeah, there's so much stuff about Metroid, even if like the gameplay hasn't quite hooked me in yet, that I just really love and appreciate beyond it just being a foundation for the Metroidvania formula.
Yeah, I totally like, and I think like you kind of have to go in like appreciating the difficulty like a little bit to really maximize your enjoyment out of this game. Like it's like I really appreciate, like, especially after playing a game like Metroid Prime 4, how many different enemy types there are, how kind of tight combat is in some of the areas, and again, I really appreciate after playing Metroid Prime 4, like, you just go, you figure it out on your own, and there is something to be said for that. So yeah, congrats to the whole Metroid HQ team. Hopefully we're back in 2027 at the next marathon. Hopefully it's just as much of a success. Okay, Doom, we are here to definitively rank the bosses of Metroid Prime 4. And rules of engagement for everybody that doesn't know how this works is that we're going to go through the bosses in the order that you encounter them in the game. And so we're going to start off with Abrax and Carvex, and we are going to discuss which one we think is better, which one we think is worse, and then we're going to rank them. Then we're going to get to the third boss, and it's either going to go in the third spot, second spot, or first spot. The fourth boss, it's either going to go last, second to last, second from the top, or the top spot, etc., etc., until we have our final ranking at the end of all things here. So lots of bosses to get into, and thankfully, you know, like you can certainly say what you will about Metroid Prime 4, and Lord knows we have said a lot, but the bosses I think are a fairly consistent strength of this game, with a couple of exceptions to be had. So looking forward to this, and I think that we're going to get a lot of pretty good discussion, because we haven't had a lot of time to like really dial in on the different bosses yet. So I'm ready.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think you are doing some hard mode fairly recently. I started my hard mode playthrough last week. As I was telling you behind the scenes, I had to restart my hard mode playthrough. I was hoping that I could have a little bit more of these bosses refreshed in my mind, but everything up to the Snow Wolf encounter in Icebelt is pretty much up to my my most recent memory now. So can at least go there and then try to go off of what I initially felt at the beginning of last month for the rest of those. But yeah, I'm still feeling pretty confident in my rankings. And yeah, as you mentioned, this is like one of the, you know, we've definitely been dumping on this game a little bit. Not gonna lie, this is an episode I think we've been looking forward to, like finally breathe some positivity for the most part. That I think we've been really wanting to get off our chest.
Yes. I'm not going to say it'll be all positive, because I do have some critiques, but hopefully we'll have a good time. Yeah. Okay, so let's start off with boss number 1 here. And for right now, this is just going to be our default number 1 spot. It's Abarax. And, you know, I mean, this boss is like your classic intro tutorial boss. It's totally fine. The big goals of this fight are teaching you how to use free aim and teaching you how to use the morph ball. I think, like, in combat. Other than that, pretty standard fare, I would say. I do like this boss though. Like I think that it is the presentation is really cool. It definitely reminds me of the Berserker Lord from Metroid Prime 3. I at this point in the game, I was like, really cool. Like, all these Metroids are fused onto this boss, and like this is definitely going somewhere. I can't wait to learn about like what's up with this. Which never really gets paid off, but I think the boss fight itself is like pretty decently fun. And you know what, like I think like you kind of rank this fight by like, does the boss look cool, does the arena look cool, and does it teach the player successfully those things that it's trying to teach. In this case, like specifically the free aim, but also like how to quickly get in and get out of morph ball here. And I would say that this boss is like mostly pretty successful. So I mean, it's not going to challenge for like the top overall spot by any means, but I would say that for like an intro boss, which I believe that we did a show about that at one point in time, this would be like a strong one.
Yeah, I was about to say, like obviously this isn't going to be very high in like the full echelon of Metroid Prime 4 bosses. I think that's fair to say right off the get-go. But yeah, if we're talking like tutorial/intro bosses, if we were to go back to that episode, I don't think Abarax would be number 1, not even close, but I think it would definitely be a strong contender for the top 5. Absolutely. I think this is a really great boss. I think it successfully sets out what it's supposed to do, which is to teach you important core mechanics about the game. As you mentioned, specifically that free aim. I was actually really surprised because when because I was planning on playing this with the controller, and I was like, ooh, I don't know how well that free aim is gonna feel using the right analog stick, because I don't like using the motion controls with the controller in first person. I love it with the Wii remote, but not with when I'm holding a controller. I don't really like that gyro style aiming with the controller. So I was planning on just using the analog stick, and yeah, I was actually fairly pleasantly surprised how easily it felt to be able to aim at all the points. There's like a little bit of magnetism when you're aiming in one certain direction, so you don't have to be super precise with the stick, but it's still engaging enough to where it doesn't feel like you're just auto aiming. And so I actually really enjoyed that specific part of the fight. And then yeah, it's that one specific shockwave attack it does, where the only way you can dodge it is by going into the morph ball, a way to show the much faster morph ball transition in this game, brand new to the Metroid Prime series. And yeah, that's always really fun to pull off. So yeah, right off the bat, I'm giving it a thumbs up.
Yeah, solid solid intro boss, I think. And I will say too, like I've played this boss more than any other in the game because I've kind of restarted a couple different times. I'm sure that you've fought him a bunch as well. I really do think, like, for me, like, assisted free aim makes a big difference. I'm not like a big fan of like the I guess like standard free aim, so like I really enjoyed that versus the traditional method. So I think that this one is I think it's like a pretty fun intro boss, and we'll go over and we'll talk about the next boss as well. And to be honest with you, like, I feel like this is also like almost a borderline intro boss, because it's not like super challenging, but it does have something to teach you, which is really like how to use your control beam. And we're talking about Carvex. I think that I actually don't know if I would place this above Aberrex or not. Like, to me, these guys are pretty similar. The design, I think, of Carvex is obviously very Flagra coded, but I think it just looks a little bit like not as interesting as Flagra. And like I do think that it's like Carvex is pretty cool, like when it pops out and you can see it and all of that kind of fun stuff. But for a large majority of the fight, I think it's like still inside its little cocoon, which makes it a little bit less of a cool boss fight. It really doesn't have too many attacks. Like, really just the foliage attack on the ground is its only real attack, aside from the spores that it shoots out, I guess. I will say this is one of the few times playing Metroid Prime 4 where I felt like my knowledge of past Metroid Prime games actually served me well, because I was like, oh, I probably need to scan the tentacles of this thing, and the spores for that matter too, because they're probably missable, and they were. So I did appreciate that. I think though, like this boss is fine. It's a good showcase for the control beam, but I would say it's just fine. What are your thoughts, Doom?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent boss. I would probably put it a tad above Aberrex, but I'm not like super, I'm not super gung ho about that. If you'd rather put Aberrex above it, but yeah, I think it's pretty fun. Definitely utilizes the control beam the most out of any of the boss fights. I do think it is that last phase that is the big highlight, where you're taking out all three of like the vines, and you're weaving in and out of like all of its vines that it spores out. Up until then, like, it's all right, but the final phase is like a pretty big highlight, I think, and that I think is what edges it over Aberrex for me. And I would say everything about this fight is like super Flagra coded. The design obviously is reminiscent of it. The vines, the missile scans, the music. Kenji Yamamoto uses a lot of the same synth patches that are present in Flagra's theme as well. So there's definitely a lot of what feels like intentional similarities. But I also do think there's just enough to like differentiate the two as well. It's an homage to Flagra, but not like a full blown ripoff or a full blown clone. And so I definitely like that about it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd rank this above Aberrex or not. I wouldn't die on a hill over it by any means. I think they're probably the same tier. But I mean, like, it is a fun boss fight. I do wish that like the second phase of the fight was like the one where you have to navigate through the branches, and like the third phase was maybe even a little bit more involved than that. Like, maybe
I think I agree with that.
The branches are moving or something, something just to give it a little bit of an extra challenge, because I kind of like do feel like once you fire off the control beam, there really isn't any like stakes or urgency. Like, you know that you're gonna get it. It's really just like positioning yourself for that control beam shot, which is still fun. But yeah, I would say I would probably I think I'm talking myself into putting it below Aberrex, but I don't feel strongly about it. If you wanted to put it above, I kind of
don't
like
feel
whatever.
strongly either. So I mean, it's up to you whether it goes above or below Aberrex. I'm not going to use any of my persuasive points on this one. I'll save that for another boss that I know will probably fight on later on.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not going to go to bat necessarily for anything here. I'll tell you, I'm going to put Carvex underneath Aberrex just because I feel like Aberrex does a better job at being an intro boss, and I just like kind of like the Space Pirate a little bit more than you would say it's an homage to Flagra. Some others might just say it's kind of a ripoff. So like that would be your, up to you to decide. But I think like for me, like when in doubt, go the cool looking space pirate.
Right.
And you know what? Not for nothing, but like at least it makes sense in my brain why Abrax would have Metroids fused on him. Maybe that was done. I guess it wasn't done beforehand. We literally see that happen. But at least you could explain, like, well, there's Silex, there's Metroids, and there's Abrax. And yeah, of course that makes sense why they would fuse onto him right now. Carvex, that just happens at some point. Some undetermined point.
It is literally the only boss where you see a Metroid fused to something.
I do think that you see the Metroid fused to Keteros, as we'll get to.
Nope,
in a little bit.
You don't see any other cutscene of a Metroid. It is Abrax only.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant like you don't see the fused Metroid on its body. Yes, you are correct.
No. Yeah, you definitely see like fused weak points and like a few other bosses, but yeah. No, you do not see any cutscene of a Metroid latching onto a boss.
No, that's asking a bit much here. Okay, let's go over to spoiler boss number 1. Silex, the first encounter at Voltforge. So I think it's probably pretty safe to assume this goes number 1 on our list so far, right?
I think so. I will say, though, it is not going to be a number 1 for very long. It's a fine boss fight, although I think all of us... I know definitely Dak and I agree. I can't remember if you were on the same page, but the Cyclone attack was really weird and goofy and not Silex, and that just kind of made me scratch my head a little bit. Otherwise, I think it's a fine first Silex encounter.
I don't really have a problem with the Cyclone attack, and I guess I'm going to push back, actually, like, say, like, it's not Silex, but, like, what do we know of Silex at this point? Like, really nothing. So, like, who's to say if it's not Silex or not? Like, in Metroid Prime Hunters, it's not like Silex has kind of this determined fight pattern. I mean, I guess he lays traps and obviously uses the shock coil, which is pretty suspiciously absent from this fight. So, like, I guess you can say that. But then at the end of the fight as well, like, the Tasmanian Devil attack, I think is even less of a big deal to me, just because, like, I mean, spoilers, this literally isn't Silex. So, like,
it just reminded me a lot of Top Man from Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah. I think that this is like a fun fight. I like that Silex, like, there's physicality, like he gets right up in your face with some melee attacks. I always really like that. I do think that, like, the reveal at the end, though, that this is just some robot, really takes the wind out of the sails of this fight for me. I mean, it's still better than the other 2 fights that we have so far, but you're right. It's not long for the number 1 spot for very long. I just, like, if there was a reason for it or some sort of, like, payoff, that would be easier for me. But the fact that it's just, like, it's a fun fight, but, like, has this really weird, unexplained story reason behind it that just kind of deflates it. It's like a bait and switch almost. That it leaves me just kind of just not quite disappointed, but just, like, very meh about it.
Right. I feel like now that I've beaten the game, I'm pretty disappointed in it. But, like, when it first happened, it's like, oh, that's not at all what I expected. I wonder where this is gonna go. And I mean, I guess it went somewhere technically, but, like, yeah, we don't have to. We've already gone way in depth on that already. We don't need to regurgitate any of that here. But yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, we can put it at number 1 for now, and I do appreciate the fact too, by the way, in that Cyclone phase, that, like, you can throw, like, bombs at Silex. I thought that was pretty neat. A different way to, I guess, to combat that, but yeah, certainly is not on the level, I don't think, of this next boss, which is Xelios. This boss is awesome. This boss is great. Like, this is number 1 by a country mile, I think, on this list for right now. It's you know what? I think you said the same thing too. This boss is hard. on hard mode especially, this boss kicked my butt multiple times. Like, it's really challenging. You've got to be really precise with your dodges. Towards the end, dude, when Xelios takes out his like green lightsaber for the big swing attack at the end, that is devastating if you don't dodge. And I think it's like, it's like getting the timing down was really fun because it's not exactly when you think it is. Xelios has like tons of really cool attacks that you need to dodge. I like the idea of just like chipping away at this force field around it and trying to position your shots or your control beam if you really want to get some damage onto this sucker. Does remind me of Metroid Prime Federation Force, which I am tickled by. I think the Xelios and Chironon are cousins, maybe. I know that like Dax like, it's a ball, but I don't know. I think it's like it's like a nuclei inside. I don't even know if that's how you would describe it, but it's like something inside with shielding around it. So like I quite like this fight, and I think it's like far and away the best of the game at this point. Like far and away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100% agree. And also agree that like this boss was fun on normal mode. This boss is fantastic on hard mode. I think hard mode is really where this boss shines. I'm actually curious, how did you dodge the lightsaber attack? Because I found a way to dodge it, but I don't think that I was doing it the way the game intended it to. What I did is I got into morph ball mode, and I would just keep I would roll in the direction of where it's swinging, and then I would jump in morph ball mode right as it swings. I don't know if you dodged in an alternate way, but that was pretty successful for me whenever I tried to do that.
Well, the thing that I found dodging that is like normally, like, so you know when Xelios is lining you up for the big green ball blast, and there's typically 3 of them that you need to dodge. That's a separate attack, but like so dodging that, you're just like, okay, if I dodge too early, then I'm gonna get hit. So like you gotta wait, and when the ball is being spit out, then you dodge. So I took that to the lightsaber attack as well, and I was like, when he starts to swing, that's when you dodge, because otherwise you're gonna get hit. And I got clobbered every single time that he did. Like I could not get the dodge rate. And so a couple times I was like, I kind of found out that like I needed to dodge like a second earlier than I thought I would have in order to evade the attack. Like it feels like it's too early to dodge it, but if you do it, and I would say you dodge it basically as soon as you see Xelios like swing up for the attack. If you dodge it then you will actually avoid being hit. But otherwise, like I just got clobbered over and over. I didn't do the morph ball jump. That would be something I would consider.
Yeah. You're probably doing it the correct way is the thing. But yeah, I just started experimenting because I'm like, I don't know how to dodge this, but I feel like there has to be a way to dodge this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I got into morph ball mode. I jumped, and sure enough, that worked, and that was a pretty consistent strategy for me. But that's the thing. You have to roll in the direction that it's swinging. So if it's like doing a right swipe, you have to roll to the right and then jump as it's swinging. If you roll towards it while it's swiping, you're still going to get hit. Or if you stay still, you're still going to get hit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's the intended method. I still had fun doing it regardless. Again, especially because of how much faster the morph ball transition in the game is. But yeah, I kind of want to go back on the ball thing, because like it's very deceptive. You're thinking like, oh, it's just a ball, whatever. But like for, despite that, it has like such a wide variety of attacks, and it's like such a creative utilization of like how the armor pieces that you have to destroy are also the things that are attacking you at the same time. I thought that was like really cool, and especially in hard mode where it starts just absolutely like spamming you with projectiles, like it does like feel really intense, and you do kind of have to balance on whether or not you want to shoot the main weak point or shoot all the projectiles around you, because one the projectiles can give you health, but also too, if you're ignoring those, that's just a bunch of damage that you can't really dodge and maneuver around, which is, movement is very important in this boss fight. And so yeah, in spite of what it is, I thought this is like actually like one of the most creative fights in the game, and especially on hard mode, I think it really shines. So yeah,
dude, when Xelios,
2 very big thumbs up.
When this guy traps you in that, like if you get hit by the static and Xelios moves in around you and that yellow force field comes around you.
Yeah.
That's like such a, like every time that happens, I'm like, oh no. And then I'm trying to roll out of there as fast as possible. Like it was really engaging, and I thought that was really fun. So I think Xelios is going to be like a top boss by the time that it's all said and done. It definitely can challenge for number 1 overall, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if Xelios is going to be my personal number 1, but yeah, Xelios, I think it's safe to say he's going to be in the top 5.
It's in the conversation for top overall boss, I think. Like, there's a few of them where it's between these guys, and Xelios is like right there among the top contenders. So, okay, let's so to recap our list here too. By the way, we have Xelios at number 1, let's just call it Silex 1 at number 2, and Abrax at number 3, and Carvex at number 4. Let's go to Keratos.
No stinkers so far, which I think is pretty good. That's obviously going to change later, but yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, you know what? Like, there really isn't like a ton of stinkers here. I will give this game credit where credit is due, and we'll get to the one that I think we're all thinking of later. But let's talk about Keratos for now. I think that this is like a fun boss fight. I wouldn't say it's on the level of Xelios, but I think that it's like, it's a pretty fun fight. I think like the only thing I don't love about Keratos is just like the actual design of the boss. He just kind of reminds me of like basically just like a big ice crawler, like enemy from the game. He reminds me of Galzuna from Metroid Dread, actually, is what he reminds me of. And it's just kind of like I think that there could have been a cooler design for this boss. The fight itself, I think, is really fun. I like the ice floor idea. I like having to dodge and hit his backside for weak points. Lots of projectiles coming at you, which freeze you, which is always kind of a nice little thing to look out for. So yeah, I think that the boss is like, I think it's good. It's probably, if I'm gonna rank it, Doom, I would say above Silex 1, but like far below Xelios. I don't know how you feel about this guy.
Yeah, if this was during my initial normal playthrough, I would have put Keratos on top. And I wish I got to him in my most recent hard mode playthrough to see how like he stacks up on hard mode. But yeah, I enjoyed Xelios. I already enjoyed Xelios on normal mode, but I enjoyed him a lot more on hard mode. And so at least in my current state of mind,
I did Keratos on hard mode. So for context, actually, Xelios I thought was a big step up on hard mode. He killed me a bunch of times. Keratos was just like exactly the same for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, to me, I did not die. The only deaths I had on hard mode actually were in the Cybot fights. Those are the only things that have been responsible for my hard mode deaths so far. Of all things, definitely more challenging than any of the boss fights for me, at least. But so yeah, I can't really say whether or not hard mode is gonna boost Keratos like it did with Xelios, but at least in my current state of mind, I also have to agree and put Xelios above. That could very well change in a week from now after I do face Keratos again. But yeah, I do kind of agree with you. I do think the design, I think most of the creature designs in this game are pretty strong. This is actually one on the weaker side, though, especially for a boss. It looks weirdly cuddly and not like threatening and gross. A little bit, unlike some of the other bosses. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah.
He looks like he's gonna nuzzle by your feet in front of the fire. Maybe not the fire.
Right,
you know.
Right. But yeah, overall, I still think it's a really fun fight. I love its little cyclone attack and how you have to like kind of shoot out the ice shards in order to get its weak point while it's doing that. I love how it will just kind of ricochet off the arena rapidly, forcing you to kind of pay attention to your map and where you're dodging. A really good space to take advantage of the forward and backwards dodging here as well, because it'll kind of fool you with some of the angles, which I really like as well. It never after the first one, it doesn't always come right back at you. It might be offset a little bit and try to try to mess you up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so doing a backwards dodge or a forwards dodge in some of those contexts can actually be a bit preferable. So I think that's like a really small touch that I think elevates the fight for me. But yeah, I agree. I think at this point in time, Xelios is still going over it.
I think so. Xelios, even on normal mode, I was like, wow, that was a really great boss, and I feel like this one is like a fine boss, but it didn't reach that level for me, where it felt like it was like really kicking into another gear. Yeah, like maybe the design does play a part in it. I don't know, but I think it's like a perfectly fine boss, but not a contender, I think, for like number 1 overall, but definitely good for number 2 on our list, I would say.
I would also say, and I think both of us disagree with Dak's take on the overall music of the game. I will say the Keratos boss theme, this is like one of the only boss themes that I cannot remember for the life of me. All the other boss themes, I have a pretty good idea of what they sound like. This is the one where it's like if you told me what it sounded like right now, it's like, man, I'd have to YouTube that. I couldn't tell you.
Other than the Silex fights, I hate to say, like, I can't really think of any boss fight themes myself. Now, granted, like, I'm sure if I heard it, I would recognize it, and it's not like any of them are bad. Just I can't think of any off the top of my head. All right, let's move on here. Let's go to Phenoros, the giant lava snake guarding the flare pool. One of the only fights that we have where you fight on Viola to start off with. And I think that this is a pretty good fight, but I don't think it's a contender for top overall spot. And I think we disagree there.
This is where I'm sinking all of my persuasion points into, every single one of them.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure you can convince me, and I'll tell you why. I think that the first part of the fight, I think, is like neat. Like it's a cool idea. Like, it certainly looks cool being on Viola, driving around the lava, trying to shoot like all the Metroid spores on Phenoros. Like, I think that is fun. It's just like there's nothing to it. Like, there's no danger, there's no damage that you take. Like, there's infinite health refills from all the little flying lava guys sitting around, and I feel like it's like just not really that fun to be frank, and I feel like that about combat on Viola in general. This one I think especially, just because like all you're basically doing is just driving alongside Phenoros and just lining up your shots with, which is fine. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but when you get to the actual fight itself, I do kind of like the idea that you've stunned Phenoros, and now like it can't feel its tail, and that is giving you the platform to stand and fight on. I do like that little attention to detail, but I mean, and I think that the fight is like pretty fun. There's a lot of like really aggressive attacks that Phenoros does, but I think the ending just kills it. Just kills it for me. Like, I thought the control beam part was like so anticlimactic, man.
I have the complete opposite reaction, and it's actually interesting because I was watching a playthrough of that game. I didn't actually realize that Phenoros could wake up. So I guess maybe that's just because I didn't realize, and a part of me thinks that's like really cool. It's like, oh yeah, if you don't figure it out fast enough, then like, yeah, you pay the consequences.
That happened to me,
but it's
like
probably
twice.
not as fun. It's probably not as fun if you're on the receiving end of that. I didn't even know that was a thing. I figured it out clearly fast enough to do it on the first try, so I thought it was pretty cool. Now knowing that that's something that can happen, I can definitely understand how that could definitely taint your opinion. Again, though, I thought it was phenomenal. I thought that was like, holy crap, one of the best finishers of a fight I've done in like quite some time.
Okay.
And that definitely put it over the top for me.
To be honest,
can I at least get my boy into the top 3? Can I at least get him into the top 3?
Oh yeah, like I think that of all the fights that we have, like I think this is still a strong fight. Like I really like the kind of middle sequence there. Like, Phenoros is aggressive, which I like. I really like when you kind of get him to either half health or 3/4 health down. He'll do the fire beam attack, and then he'll come right back and do it. And like, you got to be fast, man, going into Morph Ball, because like he'll hit you fast. And you know, again, like I like the dodging attack, and say what you will, but like we talked about the design. Like, Phenoros looks awesome, especially in the second half when like the Cobra neck piece comes out. Like, I think he looks really cool. I would have no problem putting it at number 2 on the list. Like, I think that this is a better boss than Phenoros. I just, like, for me, the ending.
You mean Keratos?
Who did I say? Did I say Phenoros again? Keratos.
You said
yes.
Phenoros.
All these bosses sound kind of similar here.
Phenoros, Keratos, Xelios.
Yeah, Abrax, Carvex, Silex. So even if like Phenoros hadn't woken up at the end. I guess I just feel like I don't like the control beam. I feel like just moves so slowly, which is great for puzzles, but like not for me what I want in combat necessarily. So I could definitely appreciate the like aha moment in doing that. I just it just didn't hit the same for me. So I guess like I would totally be willing to put Phenoros at number 2 on our list right now. I personally don't think it competes with Xelios. That's just my take. I thought that the escape sequence after actually was a lot more fun than the boss.
I mean, I agree. The escape sequence was pretty awesome, but yeah, I don't know. Agree to disagree, but I'll settle for Phenoros at number 2. Yeah, I love the design. Again, I thought it was a really nice evolution of Abrax, weirdly enough, with like the multi-target aiming, or the free aiming.
Yeah.
I like what they did there. The targets are much smaller, so you do have to be more precise this time as well, which I definitely feels earned at this point in the game. This boss pretty much, I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10, but like it would, for me, like this was a super high ranking boss for me, like in the Metroid Prime series.
Is this like your number 1 boss from this game?
This is my personal favorite in Metroid Prime 4. Yes.
Oh, okay. Geez. Okay. Well, we've got it at least at number 2 on our list now. Let's see where it ends up when it's all said and done. Okay, our next fight is Silex number 2, from the heart of Voltforge in the Power Core. And you know what, actually, Doom, give me your thoughts first. I would love to hear your take on this fight and where you would rank it.
So as I said, yeah. So as I said during when we were talking about the game's finale, I think this is the best Silex fight in the whole game. Best Silex in quotation marks fight in the game. I think it's better than Silex 1, obviously. I think it's better than the actual Silex fight, as we'll get into later. This pretty much, I love everything about this fight. The only thing that takes it down a peg is that, again, it's not actually Silex, and especially at this point, I knew it was coming, but the game playing this twice in a row now, it's like, okay, come on, what are we doing here? But taking all the story implications and all that aside, and just looking at the raw gameplay and the environment, like the whole fight is like incredibly diverse. Like there's so many different attacks. There's different ways to approach Silex. There's of course the highlight of the fight, which is his big shot coil attack where he electrifies the entire room, and you have to use the grapple beam to constantly escape different points as he is electrocuting various areas of the room. Really, just a really fun like kind of movement section where you have to go around, and if you time it right, you can latch off the grapple beam. Get a control beam shot and then hit him while you're in midair. That's a really fun to pull off as well. Stellar fight. Wish the story implications were a little better, but otherwise mechanically, I really have no complaints.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a really great fight. I think that like the electric floor attack is really cool. It's got that physicality. It feels more like what I would expect a 3D Silex boss fight in Metroid Prime proper to feel like. You kind of nailed it though. Like for me, I'm just like, man, I know that this isn't Silex like immediately. So Silex 1 at least has like kind of going for it. Like I'm like, oh, this is really early, but like maybe they're doing Dark Samus here, and like I'm gonna fight Silex a couple of different times. I was very sure that was what was gonna happen in Silex fight number 1, and so the ending of that I thought was really deflating, when it was just like some random Cybot. And at this point, like you're pretty late in the game here. Like you really only have one more area left, and you've got no story progression. You've got no interaction with Silex like at all, aside from like a couple of scenes of him disabling the bridge to Flare Pool or whatever have you. But I just like, I knew going in that this wasn't going to be Silex. So like, I felt like that did put a real damper on what is otherwise a very excellent fight for me. So like, and again, like I think even like after the game is over, like you're just like, man, there really isn't any explanation for this, which kind of takes it down even more to me. So I'm not really sure what to do with this fight. Like I'm not, because I think it's a really fun fight. But I was disappointed from basically the moment it started, because I was like,
Right.
this isn't Silex. This is probably not going to be followed up on, and then like at the end of the game, I was like, man, I feel even worse about those two Silex fights. So I don't know actually what to do here. I think mechanically as a fight, it's fun, but there is more that goes into a great boss battle than like just the fight. Like it's the stakes, it's the arena, it's the design. I don't know. Where would you rank this fight?
And I think you're onto something here, because I think different bosses can get away. So get away with different things. Like going back to Phenoros, for example. Going in, obviously, we know that Phenoros isn't going to be like a major character in the story. It's a big, scary monster. Who cares about the story implications of that? Silex is obviously very different, where it does kind of have to deliver on that narrative in a way that a lot of the other bosses don't. Is that fair? No, but that's also kind of a design choice that's been made, and so I do think it's fair to kind of factor that into the overall fight as a whole. It's part of the experience as well. I mean, Ganondorf, the finale of Ocarina of Time, the fight itself is okay, but like it's those story implications, it's that atmosphere, the intensity, the climax. That's what makes the fight like so incredible, more than the actual mechanics. And I think it works well in that favor.
The Lego set, by the way, announced?
Yeah.
Let's go. All right. yeah. The other thing too is like I think, like, inevitably, because you choose to do these three Silex boss fights, like, you have a direct comparison staring you right in the face for anybody that's played another Metroid Prime game. And, like, Dark Samus, like, all three of those fights are really spectacular in their own way. And, I just, like... And it's not to say that this fight isn't spectacular either, but... Because, like, I think of the three fights, this one's probably the best, but... I don't know. I don't know what to do with this fight. Like, I just don't think it lives up to, like, the other Dark Samus trilogy fight. I don't think it really does a whole lot for me as, like, a player wanting to fight Silex, because I know that this isn't Silex. It's a really fun fight. I think I'm actually going to put it, if you're asking me, I'm going to put it below Phenoros on our fight.
That's exactly where I was thinking, too. Right between Phenoros and Keratos.
Yeah. Which is like...
But yeah, you're 100%
again, too
right.
Bad,
like,
because this is a fun fight.
Yeah, I know. But you're 100% right, though. Like, obviously, I don't think it's a stretch to say that the Silex encounters are at least partially inspired by Dark Samus. And, like, especially in Prime 2, like, the Dark... I have zero complaints, but, like, the Dark Samus encounters are executed perfectly from start to finish. They play the role in the narrative they're supposed to do. Each fight is fun and unique in their own right. Obviously, we're both big Dark Samus 2 fans, especially, but I think all three fights, have their own quirks to offer, and they're all worth it in the end. None of them really I don't think they're like overshadowed by each other, even if we have our preferences. Whereas Silex 2, for me, as a fight, I do think it kind of overshadows the other fight, but it also doesn't have any of those narrative payoffs that the Dark Samus fights do.
And like, even like the Dark, like, it's not like there's like a ton of narrative fights, but like you feel like you're like, okay, I'm fighting my rival. It's like Dark Samus 1 is like this drag 'em out brawl, which leaves this room just devastated after you're finished, and it's got that feel like what you've just done is like impactful, and I feel like to have like Silex transform into a robot for reasons unknown at the end is just like so deflating, especially once you get to the final Silex boss fight, because like for me, the fact that you are actually fighting legitimately Silex elevates that fight, even though I don't necessarily like the mechanics of the fight as much,
Right.
So it's just like it's one of those things where it's just like, man, why did they do this? Like, why can't we just have fought Silex 3 times, and Silex is like an active participant in the story? Like that would have just made like, if this was actually Silex, and Silex is like actively like involved in the world and in the story and stuff like that, and you're running into him a couple of different times, which makes sense, by the way. If you're on Vuros, you're probably both trying to get off the planet. This fight is probably pushing for number 1, but yeah, I don't know. Just
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. let's move on to the next boss fight here. The Omega Griever. I'm gonna say this is the best boss fight in the game. This boss fight is so awesome, and on hard mode, this absolutely rips. It is so awesome. I love this boss fight. I think like the build up to the Omega Griever is so intense with that big cocoon or that big egg that you see on the way there. I think the opening cutscene is great. I think the design of this Omega Griever is so awesome. He looks like a Balrog from Lord of the Rings. He looks so cool. The way that this creepy little thing slithers along the walls, like moving back and forth like a little monkey. I think the presentation of this is so great. It kind of reminds me of the Omega Pirate in a certain way, where it's like it's an upgraded version of the standard enemy of the game, and that calls for reinforcements. But that fight is also incredible. I think mechanically the fight is really fun. It's like a classic wrestling match. Actually, you're picking off a limb, to weaken the Omega Griever. I think the fake out with the power bomb is so great. I got brutalized by that twice in my initial playthrough. This fight I think is like so awesome. The fact that you have to roll under it to damage it with power bombs, lots of cool attacks. The only negative that I have to say about this fight, and this is really more of a negative about every single boss fight in Metroid Prime 4, is I'm pretty sure that if you are a boss in this game, you are contractually obligated to have a ground pound attack. But like other than that, like I think this fight is like so awesome. Where do you land on this fight, Doom?
Yeah. Obviously, this is a high-ranking boss in the game. I love the Omega Griever fight. Obviously, as I already said, Phenoros is my number 1 pick. I think Omega Griever might be my number 2 pick. I'd be fine with putting it number 1 on our collective list here. I think this is a fantastic fight. Definitely my favorite boss theme in the game too. Like everything about it. I said this a couple episodes ago, but like the boss theme just like oozes classic Metroid Prime in a way that like the rest of the game the rest of the game doesn't quite do, but like this boss theme just feels like classic Metroid Prime, which I love. It's one of the more grosser themes in the game, so I definitely really like that. I also really like kind of its own little fake out where when you start fighting, you see big glowing weak point and you're like, oh, I gotta shoot the weak point. That is not what you're supposed to do, actually. When you scan it, it says, actually, no, you want to shoot its exposed skin, which is not glowing, actually. And so I've seen a lot of people online talking about that as a negative. I personally think that's a positive. I think that's a really cool subversion, actually. How it's actually you want to avoid the big, obvious glowing weak point. So I actually really enjoy that about the fight. The fake out is absolutely incredible. I think all three of us got absolutely bamboozled the first time that happened. I saw shiny thing and I was like, ooh, gimme, and fell right into it. This is a boss
especially
where,
after Phenoros sets you up with like you think the fight's done and you're like, okay, here's just like I'm gonna grab my thing, and I was like, I'm probably just gonna power bomb it and then it's dead, like, but nope.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
This boss is fantastic. Again, another one where I really just don't have any complaints about it. This was solid from start to finish, and I loved it.
This boss fight, I think you can say is like a top 10 Metroid Prime boss fight. Like you could put it up there with like the Omega Pirates, the Meta Ridleys, the Quadraxuses. Like I think that this fits in right alongside those. Like I think this.
We're talking about Prime 3 Meta Ridley.
Right, Prime 3 Meta Ridley, obviously. Goes without saying. I think that this boss fight is like really, really great. Probably the high point of like the boss fights in the game for me, and really a nice way to end off the Great Mines as well, which was kind of a sleeper area for me. Like I've said it's my favorite area in the game. I wasn't expecting it to be, but I really liked the vibe of the area a lot. So yeah, I would definitely put this at number 1, just above Xelios for our list.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Yeah, it's again 0 complaints.
We should do a quick recap here of what our list is, just in case everybody hasn't been following along. So at the number 1 spot, we have the Omega Griever, very well earned. Number 2, we have Xelios. Number 3, Phenoros. Number 4 is Silex 2. Number 5 is Keratos. Number 6 is Silex 1. Number 7 is Abrax. And number 8 is Carvex. And I just want to point out, we have 4 bosses ending in X and 3 bosses ending in Os. So if we've messed up any names here, I'm sorry, but it's not our fault. Okay.
You know what? Let's talk a little bit more about Omega Griever, because we haven't talked about how it crawls all over the walls too. That's another part of the boss I absolutely love as well. It's not just a ground boss; like it's really dynamic in like its positioning, and I love that aspect.
It crawls around like a little monkey or like a little spider. Hitting it is hard too, like, and it's very satisfying when you hit it and you nail it with the super missile, and then like boom, it falls right on the ground, right on its face. That's good stuff. Really good stuff. I think that this boss fight is like really, really great in this game. Which, of course, because this game is what it is, we go over to our next boss fight, Doom, which is Varmis. Yes, finally we have a Viola boss battle. Everyone has been begging for a Viola boss battle. Frankly, I was begging for one at the beginning of the game, and I was like, this is going to be so awesome. And be careful what you wish for, because this boss fight is a stinker. I think it's the only one I would label as a true stinker in this game. It is not fun. Combat stinks on Viola. I love Viola a lot, but combat is not something that I thought was handled very well. It really doesn't help the fact that like you literally just hit Varmis. You gotta do a 180 and boost it and hit it right in the ass, and that's the whole boss battle. Repeat. And not only compounding that, Varmis will like sink into the sand, and like it takes forever to do this. So it's not like you can chain attacks together either. I thought this boss battle was rough.
Carvex, you are last place no more. On the contrary to the boss where I had nothing but positive things to say about, I have nothing positive to say. Actually, that's not true. The powerbomb finisher at the end is kind of neat, but that's also not original. We've seen that obviously with like the Metroid Queen fights. This sucks. This fight is terrible. I guess. Yeah. And again, especially like you were mentioning with like the anticipation, because we were both like, oh man, we know for a fact there has to be a Viola boss battle, like, and it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna be revolutionary, and it's like, man, this is nothing. I'll be honest, I thought I thought some of the Breath of the Wild fights where you're fighting similar types of creatures, I thought those were way better and intense than
like the Molduga
whatever they cooked up here. Yeah, the Molduga fight. Thank you. Yeah, I thought those were way better in those games.
They're not even close.
This was
like that fight is like really fun, and this fight is the total opposite of that. I like the thing that I guess is just like, to me, like a head scratcher is like, why does Viola shoot discs? Why can't we just make it like missiles or like something to at least like functionally it could be the exact same thing, but at least like I can wrap my head around missiles. You know what I mean? Like I have a hard time with like this disc thing, and like I feel like it's unlimited, so like there's no real like there's no sense of like urgency, or there's no like I don't know, like I'm just like, okay, if I miss whatever, I don't care, I'll just fire it again, like, you know. Whereas like I feel like if the disc was treated like the boost is, you're kind of like, okay, like at least I got to be careful with my shot and like line it up, or at least like something, you know, to get you a little bit engaged into the fight. Because even in this fight, you have unlimited boost, so it's not like that's a big deal.
Yeah, because it literally poops boosts for you.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I think like if you're gonna do a fight like this, because like Varmis is just an enemy that you see at basically the beginning of the game in that little pit in Soul Valley, like why not have like a couple of them, you know, like 4 or 5. Mimic the Snowwolf scene if you want to. Like that was a fun scene. Like that could have been something. This fight is not great. Not great.
Yeah. Not a fan. Not a fan.
Okay. We have one boss fight left to talk about.
Oh boy.
We need to make an important distinction here, Doom. We were talking before the show aired, and I was saying we almost need to rank this last fight twice. One for normal difficulty and one for hard difficulty. I can amalgamate my scores together if you want to, or we could do them separately. And I'm going to let you choose since you haven't got to this boss on hard. Or no, you have got to this boss on hard mode, right?
Yeah, in a very convoluted way.
What do you think? Should we rank them separately or should we lump them together?
I almost wonder if we do phase 1 separately and then phase 2 and 3 is their own thing. I feel like that almost makes a little bit more sense to me, but I don't know. What do you think?
I feel like that is unfair. I feel like they should be all ranked together, but I do think... So obviously phase 1 is where hard mode comes into play. I would be willing to rank them separately based there, but I think that is like an unfair advantage to phase 3. If
you think they all need to be put together, then let's put them all together. Yeah, I don't know. You can, since we both played it on hard mode. I think we can both. I think we can both rank these, put those into our rankings. I feel like I think it's fair to weight those into it.
Okay, so just one ranking, and we're encompassing hard mode into that, and all 3 phases. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Here we go. Silex over at Chrono Tower, and I want to start. So I want to start off. We'll talk about normal mode first before we get to hard mode, and I think that normal mode, and let's you're right. Let's go by phases, and we'll rank them just collectively at the end, but. I think the first phase in normal mode is fine. It's not exactly how I would structure the final boss here. The dragon heads are a little bit of a left turn, but I don't hate them. Like I'm doing the boss and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of cool. Like I like the dragon heads. Like they're difficult. They pose definitely a challenge. I think that they are like an interesting concept. They don't necessarily scream Silex, but we don't know anything about this guy, as the game very makes sure that we don't know anything about him going into this final boss fight. So I don't hate that. I think like in normal mode, I didn't necessarily have a problem with all the Galactic Federation troopers. You don't, I think, want them in your final boss fight of the game. There might be an appropriate spot for them to get involved in a boss fight, but I felt like this wasn't it. But they were unoffensive, I think, in normal mode. And overall, I thought that it was like I thought this was challenging even on normal mode. Like I had not that much health left when I finished it. I think I had like 3 energy tanks left. So I thought that the first phase was like decent, like pretty decent. I can't say that I was in love with it, but I didn't hate it either. First phase on normal mode, what do you think?
So first phase, regardless of difficulty, first phase on normal mode is my least favorite fight in the game. I wouldn't even necessarily say it's the hardest fight on at least on normal mode. But yeah, just nothing about this fight works for me. I guess the music is okay, but obviously this nothing about this really rings Silex to me. Nothing about this feels like a final boss. Everything about it just feels very repetitive. The grapple stuff is okay. You put grapple in front of me and it's like kind of jingling keys in front of my face. It works for a little bit, but like the overall mechanics of the fight I just think is just really boring and definitely not what I want to feel with Silex, nor do I want to feel that with a final boss. And it just, even on normal mode, we'll get to hard mode, but even on normal mode, my goodness, this guy just feels like such a bullet sponge. I'm very grateful that you only have to take out half of his health bar and not the full health bar. That would actually make me tear my hair out. but it's just a very boring fight that just goes on and on and on. And of course, your teammates, they're barely contributing other than like getting down, so you have to constantly go to the psychic visor to revive them. And then as we'll talk about, pretty much everything that I just said just gets amplified to the maximum in hard mode.
Dude, you want to know something funny? I was playing this on hard mode like a week ago now. I don't know what happened. I got like hit by something and I went outside of like the protective force field that like you're fighting in. I couldn't get back in. Like I was stuck outside and I was like, Silex couldn't really hit me if I got close. Like the tentacles could hit me, but like not really. And I went to interact with the teleporter and pressed A to see if I could go back home, and I couldn't. It hit interact, and then the fight, it just went away. So I basically had to wait around for my teammates to die for this fight to be reset. So it was the damnedest thing. But let's talk about hard mode. Hard mode phase 1, the final boss, is miserable. It is a miserable experience. It is one of the least favorite Metroid experiences I have ever had. It might be number 1. Like it very well could be number 1. The decision to put in the Galactic Federation troopers, I think in normal mode, was like borderline. I feel like in normal mode they don't really contribute that much offense, but like they don't die super quickly, and it's easy enough to revive them. These guys were dying all the time in hard mode. It was ridiculous. I have died in this final boss fight multiple times. And when I say I have died, I've not died once. But Miles McKenzie, View, Armstrong, all of these schmucks that are allegedly Galactic Federation Marines don't know how to get out of a Thunder area attack. They just stand there and get zapped. And I'm just like, oh my god. And like, if you have like 2 troopers, but like if you have 3 troopers dead at the same time, you're toast. Like there's no way that you're gonna survive this fight. It is so frustrating. It is so like just not what you want in a Metroid final boss battle. Like it was just like such a boneheaded decision. I feel like if you want to involve the troopers, that's totally fine. You can do it in a way where it's like once you get Silex down 10% health, then View will come in with an attack. Once he's down to 20% health, then Duke comes in with his own attack. Something to that nature. Like you can still involve them, or maybe there's quick time events where they can augment how you fight Silex. Almost like the Divine Beasts in Breath of the Wild. If you get all 4, then you start the fight with half health. Like I'm open to that, but like as it is, these guys standing around and just like literally not contributing anything, and getting like just killed repeatedly is just brutal. It is just a miserable experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's actually funny too. It's like, View at multiple points in the campaign, he has this, super anime looking like multi-missile strike. Where was that during the final boss? Like,
if you're gonna bust it out, now's the time, buddy. Like, I don't know, man. This final boss fight, like honestly, even without the troopers, it's still not that fun, because like you're right, on normal mode, these dragon heads are just like tanks. I actually don't even know how many like missiles it takes to defeat them. They just seemingly transform back at random. So like the fact that you are just like constantly hitting and like I'm throwing power bombs at these things on hard mode, and like I feel like it's doing no damage. I was just like, oh my god, like this is just like not what I want in a final boss fight in any game, let alone Metroid Prime 4. So I thought, like I was not lukewarm, but like maybe warm on phase 1 on normal mode. I would rank hard mode first phase the worst fight in the game. I'd rather take on Varmis like 10 times in a row than do this.
Yeah, it's actually funny because like I feel like I was much harsher on normal mode than you are, and then I kind of expected like, oh man, I kind of know what I'm getting with hard mode, and like obviously I liked it a lot less than normal mode, but it was my deviation was like pretty minimal because it's like, yep, that's about as miserable as I expected. Whereas I feel like with you had a much larger deviation from normal to hard, and I feel like by the time we both got to hard, we kind of ended up in the same place, even though we started off very far apart in normal, which is really interesting. Kind of, we've mentioned this game a couple of times, but like again, I have to give a shout out to Hollow Knight for like doing this concept of like an NPC teammate boss fight like substantially better with I can't remember his name, but a samurai guy when you're fighting the jellyfish boss, like that's an NPC fight that's phenomenal. I love, that's one of my favorite moments in Hollow Knight, and that's not even a final boss, but like yeah, that was like way better than this fight.
What should have happened is like Silex puts up this force field and all the troopers are on the other side of it. That's what should have happened, and they're desperately trying to get in, and like maybe like I said, like once you get enough damage, like maybe one of them can come in for a second and get a special attack off or something like that, or maybe you can just choose if you want to have these Galactic Federation troopers as your backup, you can, but then you're responsible for them. But if you don't want them, then you don't have them. But in order to for that trade-off to work, they actually have to contribute offensively, and they don't. They're just like, they're a huge liability. It is such a mess. Yeah, it's again, this is the final boss fight of the game. And you know, the other thing too that I think is worth mentioning, this wasn't a gripe for me necessarily, but I can appreciate that it was for you and for others, is Silex definitely does do like the evil guy laugh here a lot, which
I hate it. It's not, obviously it's not the worst thing about Silex in this game, but man, I do not like that. And otherwise I think his actual voice is fine. I think the voice actor does a fine job for the most part, but yeah, god, that laugh is just so goofy and cheesy and just cartoonishly to a degree that feels beyond the realm of Metroid.
Beyond. There you go.
Yes.
Okay, so Phase 2 begins. I also think Phase 2 stinks. Now, luckily Phase 2 is just like an interval, or not an interval, an intermission rather for phases like 1 and 3. But like, I think that there's like ways that you can do this where it's more fun. Like you're literally just like floating around and like trying to hit Silex, and he's kind of floating around too. It's really awkward. There's like, you're sort of attacking him, but you're really there just to fill your health. And the worst thing about this phase is that if you die in Phase 3, you have to do this again. So like I thought that this was not very fun either. Luckily it's short, but it certainly, like, by the time that you get to the third phase, it's not like you have all of this like really great momentum on your side and you're just like, wow, like time for the finale. You're like, for me, I was like, man, I hope that this third phase like kicks this fight into gear, because I didn't really like the second part at all.
Yeah I thought it was okay, but like I'm not over the moon either. You definitely needed something like an intermission phase to kind of replenish the health that you've lost up to this point. Like especially on hard mode, like you're probably going to be like, you know, near the end of your health by the time you enter Phase 2. So you definitely need like some sort of intermission phase to you know, to get your health and your ammo back up. This definitely felt like a miss though in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, I feel like there's much better ways to do it. And it's funny because I remember when I was watching Dax stream when he was streaming this, and he brought this up during our finale episode too. But yeah, this has like a lot in common with Prime 3 Meta Ridley, which is way better, which is substantially better than Phase 2 of this fight here. And so it feels derivative, and it doesn't do it as well at the same time. So do I hate it? No, not really, but I don't really like it either. It's just kind of there, which is not what you want for a final boss.
Yeah, he told me about that comparison between this and the Meta Ridley Prime 3 fight. I didn't even make that correlation at all, because I felt like...
Yeah, me neither, yeah.
That's actually a fight with urgency, with stakes, and with like a lot of attacks that you need to be actively engaged in. Here, I'm just like, I feel like I'm floating in a pool, you know, just like...
Yeah.
I'm on my little blow up thing, and I'm floating. Maybe there's a couple waves coming at me that I need to dodge, but that's about it. I'm gonna get to where I'm going eventually. I just need to wait it out, you know. Now, luckily, Phase 3 is awesome. Phase 3 is great. So you get, first of all, the arena that you're fighting on is like so cool. You're literally fighting on Final Destination from Super Smash Bros. You've entered some sort of portal in the galaxy somewhere. That'd be so great, actually, if you saw Master Hand in the background. Like, he literally would fit right in. This fight, I thought, was the best Silex fight. Because you're actually fighting Silex, I think makes up a lot for me. But I really loved the Lockjaw coming back. I thought that was great. Even if it doesn't necessarily function the way that it does in Hunters, I think that it was really cool to see, and I like the traps, and I like that it steals an energy tank. I think that the Silex fight is kind of everything that you want. It's physical. He's got some really killer attacks. The shock coil is involved. And you've got that pretty cool attack where like he has the attack above his head, and it took me a while to figure out like what I needed to do, and pretty much every time that I couldn't figure out what I needed to do in this game, I was like, oh yeah, the answer is control beam. So you hit it with that, and yeah, like I thought that this was like a really fun fight. I thought it was difficult as well, actually. Yeah, I thought that it was like a strong ending to a rather underwhelming fight at this point in the game. And I thought that the soundtrack too was great.
Yeah, well, I mean the music here, it's the same theme that plays in the other two Silex fights in quotation marks.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously I don't think that's any surprise here. Phase 3 is obviously the strongest of the two phases, and that I actually enjoyed it. But yeah, I still think mechanically Silex 2 stuck out to me a lot more than Silex 3 did. Silex 3 is still good, and there's obviously like a lot of really unique attacks you hit because you got more of like Silex using his own psychic abilities too, particularly in that control beam attack you have to get back to him, which I really like. Obviously the Lockjaw is a huge highlight. I did like a little mini pop-up where I'm like, yay, the Lockjaw is there, and then but then it also kind of deflated me when I realized, oh, that's the last scan of the game. There's really nothing else after this. But it was cool seeing Lockjaw regardless. I do wish that he used a little bit more of those of the triple tripwire tactics to kind of ensnare you. I feel like that would have been like really cool. But I also thought the energy tank stealing was like a really cool and creative thing that hasn't really been done in a Metroid game before, that I thought was like, you know, really interesting and definitely changed the way how I approached at least that phase. So yeah, definitely a fun fight. I'm not gonna lie, as cool as the arena was, I was kind of just like, at this point, like, this kind of just feels like multiverse slop at this point. Like, I don't know what the significance of this place is. This is just kind of like a random place in the multiverse with like random portals. There's no story significance here. It's just like a bunch of, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just other than multiverse slop. And so it's like, yeah, it kind of looks cool, but like I feel, even though this is technically the real Silex, I feel about as much connection as I had to the fake Silex fights. And so I think that's why ultimately I still go with Silex 2, just because I thought that fight was a lot more mechanically engaging than this one, even though it was the real Silex. But overall, I like Phase 3 still. It's fun, yeah. But yeah.
I like agree with you. That's why I'm just like, I don't know what to do with these Silex fights. Like, you know, like I think like if it was a real Silex in Silex 2, I would definitely rank that really high up there. I think that like the real Silex being in this fight does count for something, but yeah, I think mechanically like it maybe isn't quite as sound. I think that's a fair critique about like the multiverse. Like at least like establish in the game before like that this object that you have can actually create wormholes, because like, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know how Silex actually does this. He just kind of comes back and like gets sucked into a wormhole and then like has his nanotechnology or like something. Like it would have made sense to me if like they would have been fighting over the artifact.
If you scan the pod that he's in before that cutscene plays out and he pops out, if you scan it, it says that it's a healing pod that can give users psychic abilities. So even though he doesn't have a psychic crystal per se, I guess this healing pod was still able to give him psychic abilities, which sure,
yeah,
whatever.
like how does that let him teleport into other realms? Like that, I'm not sure.
What I think is way more, and honestly, we probably should have mentioned this during the finale, not the boss ranking. But what I think is way more asinine is how somehow Samus teleports back at the end and then doesn't use that to teleport the rest of the teammates. It's like, oh, I can still teleport back, but like we can't use it again to like teleport the teammates. How Samus even got that ability first, I have no idea. But then to not, that's something for the finale episode that we should have done.
like
that has nothing to do with the boss rankings,
which
but
is
something
fair.
I just needed to get off my chest because
Like-
it's something that occurred to me later on.
And then
it's
that
like,
kind of
what
flies in the
is this
face
game's
of like
story?
all of the arguments. Like, well, Samus had to leave them there because like this was her only way off the planet. It's like we literally just watched her use her psychic crystal to open up a wormhole in space time here. Like, I don't know what you mean, but anyways, I on our list right now, I'm eyeing 2 spots where this fight could potentially go, and I'm amalgamating all 3 phases and normal mode and hard mode. I think that I would put it above Silex 1 and below Keratos. The other spot that I was thinking is maybe above Keratos and below Silex 2. I don't think I would put this fight collectively below Abrax, Carvex, Varmis, and probably not even Silex 1, but I certainly wouldn't put it above like Silex 2, Phenoros, Xelios, or Omega Griever.
So I definitely think Varmis is still last place if we're counting all 3 phases here.
Yeah.
As much as I hate that first phase, I think collectively I do think it goes above Varmis. I'm not gonna lie, for me personally, I think that's as high as it goes. I'm willing to negotiate higher if you want to put it a little bit higher, but for me, I think even collectively, like I think after Varmis, I can't really think of any other boss that I'd put below it for myself personally.
I mean, like, how about this? I think in good conscience, like we cannot put Carvex above the final, like the final phase on its own. I feel like is above Carvex, and I feel the same way for Abrax too. If you wanted to put it below Silex 1, I wouldn't, but we could do that.
I think Silex 1, like, obviously Silex 1 hits different when you know how the story goes, but at least during my first playthrough, at least there was like a little bit of a sense of mystery, like, oh, that's not what I expected. I'm curious how this is going to play out. There was at least that going for me, and I thought I thought it was like, oh, neat. Obviously, didn't really have much that played out after that, but like there was the possibility of that. So I don't know. I guess we could put it over Silex 1 too.
No, you know what? That's okay. We did Phenoros a little bit dirty, so hey, let's put Silex final boss. We'll put him above Abrax, and that's as far as he goes. Shall we reveal the list in full here?
Final tally, let's go.
The final tally. Actually, you know what? Stall for me for a quick second while I just number all these. I want to make sure that I get them right. Okay, here we go.
Okay, we're stalling.
So we actually have 10 bosses here that we are ranking. So in last place, number 10, Varmis. No surprise there, I don't think. Number 9, we have Carvex. Number 8, we have Abrax. Number 7, we have Silex, the final boss encounter from Metroid Prime 4. Can't say that isn't a well-deserved spot for it, I think, when you factor in hard mode, so I don't really feel that bad about it. At number 6, we have Silex boss fight number 1. Number 5, we have Keratos. Number 4, Silex boss fight number 2. Number 3, Phenoros. Number 2, Xelios. And number 1, Omega Griever. And I'm just going to add, for me personally, I would say, like, there's Omega Griever, there's Xelios, and then there's like a big gap between like the rest of the bosses. Not that they're bad bosses, like I think they're still really fun, but like those I think to me are like the real top tier upper echelon bosses of this game, and I think you would probably throw Phenoros in that category as well.
I would throw Phenoros and maybe even Silex 2, despite like the weak story implications. Just from a pure mechanic point of view, I think that's just a really satisfying fight in the moment. It's kind of thinking about the fight afterwards, where it's like, I wish narratively there was more payoff here,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think Silex 2 is debatable, but yeah, obviously for me, Fenris is my number one boss, so it has to be in there. But yeah, pretty much agree with you there. I'm curious, it's technically not a boss fight. Where would we put the Snow Wolves fight? Because it's not technically a boss fight, but it's kind of like a very similar type of scripted encounter. That's another one that I really enjoyed, at least.
I think that one's like too different to rank, because like if we were talking Behemoth, or if we were talking like the flight drone, like that, then maybe we could have similar rankings. But like I feel like that one is just so different. I thought it was a great sequence in the game. Like if you fought like one of those wolves right there, like I think that the setting, I think that the like music, I think like that would have been a top boss fight, I think, for me. But it's a little bit too different. I would say this, actually, I thought that the Behemoth fight was pretty fun. Probably like solid middle of the pack kind of idea. Mm-hmm. And I would have the flight drone probably dead last. that's
I will say I will say when I tried it again on hard mode, I didn't think it was anywhere near as janky as I initially thought on normal mode. I guess maybe I adjusted a little bit more to the control beam in that case. So I didn't really mind the flight drone too much on my second playthrough. And I did very much enjoy absolutely melting the Behemoth with the super thunder shot, the not
yes.
shot coil. It's a lot of fun. It kind of reminds me of the Metroid Hatcher in Prime 3 with like the X-ray visor Nova Beam combo. Not quite to that extent, but
I promised our pal Mr. Lasky, who couldn't make it here tonight, that I would read off his boss fight ranking here. So let's go, and he actually did rank in the flight drone and Behemoth. So number 12, we have the flight drone, no surprise there. Not a fun boss fight. 11, we have Carvex. Number 10, we have Behemoth. That's a little bit low, I think, for Behemoth. I liked that fight. I don't know. I thought it was a cool little boss fight. Number 9, Abarax. Number 8, Phenoros. That's quite low for that fight as well, actually. Number 7, Varmis. That is buck wild.
Insane.
That is, Dak thinks I have horrible taste, and I think he has horrible taste, and somehow this works. So like this is so on brand for our relationship that I love it. I'm
kind of like the person in the middle that kind of picks and chooses like when each of you have horrible taste.
You're the voice of reason, and we're the extremes.
Yeah. Yeah, as much as I hate to say it, I unfortunately have to side with Andy here. That Varmis at 7 just gives me the ick.
That is just like truly unhinged behavior from Kodaleski here. Okay, number 6, we had Silex, the first boss fight. Number 5, Keratos. Number 4, Xelios. Number 3, Silex on the final Silex boss fight. You could tell he has not played hard mode. Number 2, Omega Griever, and number 1, Silex second boss fight. Not a bad list.
Not bad. Other than Varmis, I definitely
Varmis is crazy.
That's pretty egregious.
That's crazy, but nonetheless. Okay, well there it is. We would love to know what your boss ranking for this game would be. There's some really great ones to choose from. Let us know over on Discord. Let us know over on Blue Sky. Anything you want to say before we get out of here, Doom?
And it's kind of unfortunate that the last couple of bosses we talked about were like definitely like the ones we had the most complaints about, because as we said at the beginning of the episode, otherwise I think the game's bosses are like very strong for the most part. Like I think all in all it's a really good collection of bosses. It's just unfortunately, the last couple just kind of end on a little bit of a downer.
Yes, to say the least. But man, Omega Griever on hard mode, you're gonna have a great time. This boss is so awesome. I'm really looking forward to
I can't wait
to that. Actually, I will say I thought Great Minds on hard mode in general was like really fun, like really fun, challenging, a great area that we have in this game. So trying to give it its flowers. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Omega Metroid podcast. We're doing this every single Wednesday, every week. We got new shows coming, and we got a lot more Metroid Prime 4 content coming down the pipe. Give us a subscription wherever you get your podcasts. A like, too. A follow, a review, a rating, all of that kind of stuff really helps out the show. And of course, we want to direct you over to OmegaMetroid.com. We've got Metroid guides, we've got Metroid news, we've got Metroid thought pieces, we've got Metroid stuff coming out of the yin yang. So head on over to OmegaMetroid.com for all of your Metroid needs. And check out our YouTube page while you're there as well, by the way. We've got full video walkthroughs plus each episode of this podcast in beautiful video form, should you ever want to watch that. And see our smiling faces as we talk about Varmis and in the final Silex boss fight here. Give us a follow over on Blue Sky at Spiteri316, at Doom Lacrosse, at Omega Metroid. And one last plug is that we do have a Patreon if you want to take your Omega Metroid love to the next level. We have a ton of bonus Metroid shows over on our Patreon, which is located at patreon.com/spnet. $4 gets you in the door. It unlocks literally like hundreds of bonus shows, so go and check it out. That is going to do it for us, my friends. So until next week, talk to you then. Ciao.